okay? And I'll tell you, the way this thing has been written, just leaving that 10% behind. So I said 500,000 acre feet of water in 10 years. That's 50,000 acre feet of water that we're gonna be left in this basin. So everybody can have access to that water, keep the wells, everything like that. So I don't know where we're going. I mean, what's in the twin tunnel? I don't want to, you know, we have to pretend that thing's gonna, the whole system is gonna break. It's gonna break.
Right.
I mean, it's gonna break someday. We need to worry about putting as much water in the Antelope Valley so we can pull, if it takes them 5 years to build and repair that aqueduct, you know, whatever it happens, at least we have the water here in this basin. And I think that's what we need to really focus on, but that's just my.
Well, sure. My comment was from last time, and I'll just say it again because it's made it a little different. We made a comment of MOU with joint water, which says if the developer wants to develop to find water, there's an opportunity for them to find water. I'm not sure we should be contacting our customers. We should be saying there's an opportunity for developers out there. Because I don't want to get the idea that it's their water. You know, I don't want to make them almost getting entitlement to it. It needs to always be ours. But this is water for new development. Because I agree. I don't think we should be buying it because I don't think it's that great. But we need to have an opportunity for a developer who might want to spend the money.
Well, let me help you with that, because District 40 will only let the developers, because again, it's north of the delta, is that it's only 60% reliable. So now with 1,000 acre feet to 2,000 acre feet, it could be 600 acre feet of water. So all I'm saying is I don't have a problem, but we need to get more reliability here locally.
But that reliability local would do development the way that I would understand. So
yeah.
This would be water for new development.
Will District 40 allow them or sale? That's what I think we need to know from them. Will they, if we go buy this and commit to this 2,000, are we able to, AVEK, able to?
Well, I would put it almost like the Nichols water that says, you know, if there was cost involved with it whenever we would sell that water or deed it over.
When you hear something about nickel water, nickel water's priority over table A.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
At that point, if they form a community service district, then we could get our money back at that time.
Okay, but you know what I said about this whole thing? I said the whole thing is that we should, if whoever's putting this thing together, this schematic plan, whatever it is, nobody ever says how much of that 2,000 acre feet of water we're going to be guaranteed every year. Nobody ever says that stuff. You know, it's development, engineering, and attorney's fees for the politicians in Northern California. That's what this is all about. They don't come down here and ask our attorneys and our engineers to go work on that project. Those are all the selected few up there that get this work. And there's $1.5 billion worth of work. I'm saying is, if we spend 120,000, how much more money are we going to spend after the 120,000 that we could have this year used for chemical treatment to put water in the ground? That's all I'm just asking. Can we put another 10,000, 15,000 acre feet of water in our ground this year? You know, that's what I'm, you know, next year we're going to have a drought. We might not get the same amount of water next year as we did this year. I'm just saying, if we exhaust everything, that's what we have authority to do it. I said I support the $60, but I still think we should send a letter out to our purveyors and said how many people are interested in participating in this 2,000 acre feet of water. I really do believe that.
Yeah, this really is buying these to a look and see, and during that discussion, the committee didn't envision AVEK was going to buy it. Right. And if there was other people interested in that.
You know, we're going to. I wish it was south of the Delta. I think it would be the greatest thing that happened to Southern California.
But this is what we have. This is what's been
6,000.
Item 16, Personnel Committee. Chairman Ferris.
Yes, Mr. President, we have a Personnel Committee meeting on July 8th, and George Marlin and I attended that meeting, and we gave a presentation. There were several items that Wayne presented to us, and our consensus was to send them out to the board for approval. So Wayne now would like to do a presentation for you.
Thank you, Michael. What we're going to, the presentation tonight is He's going to talk a little bit about the present organization, a revised organizational chart that the Personnel Committee reviewed, a revised salary schedule that supports that organization, some ordinance revisions to implement some incentives for years of service and advanced licensing. Our strategic plan had several strategies and objectives that were delineated, and I wanted to highlight those for you to show what those are. And in developing the proposed plan that was presented to the committee, these items were considered in the preparation of the organization chart and the plan itself. Those include strengthening delegation of authority, evaluate the compensation system to ensure competitive merit-based compensation, develop and implement a successful planning for key positions, and identify and implement incentive programs. This is the current organization here. As you can see, it has two assistant general manager with assistant general manager, agency engineer, finance manager was independent, and so it's kind of a three-pronged management under the general manager's authority. The proposed organization reduces the full-time staff by one position. That's the assistant general manager. So the assistant general manager is there with direct line authority to the general manager and the management staff, which includes the water resources manager, the human resources office manager, finance manager, principal engineer, the operations manager, the lab manager. So that's the level of what I would consider the management staff for the organization. These two positions here, which are...
Well, can you go back a second?
Sure. I did. Unwillingly.
No, the last one.
Oh, that's it.
Right here, yeah. Okay, second to the bottom, the second to the left, HR office manager. I see two asterisks. What's going on with that?
I was just going to bring that up. We have two positions here. This position here and this position here,
Okay.
which are essentially reclassifications. So that's changing an existing position to a different job description, a higher level, and a different responsibility for that. The agency has been could use some additional support in the human resources area, and by using the office manager human resources aspect, it provides kind of an overall view of helping the general manager and assistant general manager with the...
Who's the office manager now? Do you know one?
We don't have one at the present time.
So just everybody is out there?
Everybody just kind of does their own thing, and so this way, there's kind of one point of contact.
Now, principal engineer would be someone like Mike?
Actually, the principal engineer is someone like Virgil. Virgil is our, I'm not sure what his current title is, but he is a non-licensed engineer at the present time. He has passed his two-thirds of his engineering license exam. Basically the toughest parts that he's working on his last third. And that position is reclassified, and based on the strategy of trying to make sure that there's a career path for those employees that are within the organization. Once he gets his engineering license, we will lose him because his salary level will jump, $20,000, $30,000 as a minimum for any licensed engineer. And what this program does is allows him a career path over the next 5 years once he obtains his license, so that he can continue to stay with the agency and grow, increase his level of responsibility, and eventually provide some redundancy with regards to some of the things that Mike studied in the past. get there. But certainly will provide that redundancy that really. And this organization too has some real, distinct lines of authority, as was contemplated in the strategic plan. It also has a new level of responsibility in that the job descriptions that would, assuming that the board approves the organization, the job descriptions that would be prepared here would put, added emphasis on their responsibilities and making sure that they we have a good, tight, effective management for all working together. As I mentioned, this better defines the lines of authority, provides a career path for a couple of those positions that I highlighted for you. And we're trying to address particular needs where we have, especially in the human resources area, in the engineering area, where we can better protect the agency and also provide better service at a lower cost. As I indicated, it's contemplated here that there's an increased responsibility on the management positions because everybody's responsible for the assistant general manager and general manager, so the delegation is very effective. And we intend to empower that management staff to be more creative and be more task-oriented, and then be judged based on the completion of the tasks and performance appraisals on a daily basis.
Okay, so going back to one thing, increased responsibility of management positions. Well, if you're a manager, you have responsibility. What do you mean, like, I don't understand that statement. If you're a manager of a division, like your operations manager of the lab, that person is totally responsible for the whole entire project, and when it comes to expenditures, you talk to the GM,
Right.
basically about that.
Right. Not all positions are defined in that way when you look at the
So
job
it's just saying you're fine-tuning it.
fine-tuning them, making
Okay.
them more, the words often used are oversee this, and we're changing that to be responsible for, so that it's clear that they're responsible for that operation.
So right now, HR pretty much has been going to our secretary?
It's been by committee. We've had,
No, but I mean, go to when the committee's not here. Who, if I was an employee, who do I go to talk to about our plan or whatever?
and there's no defined person to go see at the present time. Sometimes they go to Holly or
Okay.
Patty
There should be,
or-
I 100% agree, there should be a go-to person
Exactly.
that understands backwards and forwards, inside out, the HR operations.
Right.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and that's really what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I get tired when they start calling me at midnight to ask me what's going
on. So the revised salary schedule that was discussed with the committee really is in order to work on what the market rate is for some positions and to maintain internal equity. In other words, between the upper level management position, the rank and file, we try to maintain a certain difference between that sort of internal integrity with regards to responsibilities and salary positions. And we also look at the market and where the market is. And in the particular case of most of the operating personnel and this water treatment personnel, those types, they were significantly below the market. And I'm not talking about the middle of the market, but actually just getting to the bottom of the market or staying right at that lower end of the market. But rather than provide for just a salary bump to get there, we're recommending that there's a base salary adjustment and that we use incentives to increase that up to the market level so that for those employees that are here 15, 20, 25 years, they can get a 2% adjustment to compensate them for those years of service. It provides the incentive for being with the agency for a long period of time. Also, for those positions where they get a license that's above what their minimum requirements are for the position that they hold, then we give them an incentive for obtaining that additional license. That also helps promote them, get them ready for promotion and to move into other tasks as time goes on. So here's the salary survey that we did for some various agencies. And what we have is the AVEK proposed salaries for those positions versus what the market has shown for those, and the differences are shown here in what we're actually paying at the present time. So this was reviewed by the committee, and you see that we're not by any stretch the highest in any of these particular areas. Yeah, because we do realize that we're going to be on the lower end of that market. So we're not recommending to go to some arbitrary number of, middle of the pack or 80 percentile or any of those types of things. Well, the salary schedule, this would be the difference in salary range, is just numbers. And then here's the fiscal impact of the proposed salary schedule. So because we've reduced a full-time position, we've reduced the salary of $83,000. All the equity adjustments and everything that we talked about, 127. So you have a reduction of full-time salary. However, I will give you a caveat. We do have a consultant that we're working on. So as this management team gets better, the idea is that we're going to reduce the amount.
Is he still on the phone right now?
He probably is, yes.
Yeah, he's charging us right now.
He probably is. So,
Dan,
anyway,
stop that clock.
My daddy's well.
Yeah, it's still on.
There you go. But in essence, most of what Dan's going to be working on to a certain extent with us is associated, water transfer and other things that in its will more than compensate for what the salary is. But the other thing to remember, as you reduce full-time salary costs or personnel costs, you're reducing your benefit costs and those other things that are involved in there. And trying to keep a lean organization is important for long-term stability.
Can you go back? Okay, so I understand the personnel reduction. Okay, I don't understand with the assistant manager was 183, equity adjustments of 127. I don't understand that. So
when you look at our budget, it should be $56,000 less for personnel than it was, even after all these adjustments are made.
Yeah, well, that's because you guys are smart and you padded the budget a lot more, so it makes it look like it's less.
Frank, what's happening here is Wayne could have gone out and hired another assistant manager. He has chosen to do this reorganization instead. So instead of hiring another assistant manager, the reorganization actually is a net savings because we're not paying for the second assistant manager that we had prior to this reorganization.
Okay.
That's where the savings comes from.
What in this position?
That's why I threw it this time. Got out a slide.
No, I like that.
I'd
rather I like that.
No, it's good. I just wanted us to keep in mind that we do have Dan on the payroll per se, but that will go down, like you said.
Well, Dan is working on water exchanges and.
Right.
So it's kind of a different category.
Yeah.
Completely different category.
Sure.
Jobs.
Good point.
Also, I wanted to, in the process of doing the investigation work for the reorganization, we looked at the age of our employees and where they are, and you can see that, we have 16, 17 employees that are in that 30 to 40 year range. And so we want to make sure that they continue along with us, and that's what facilitated the incentives for additional years of service. Yeah, under our system, after about 10 years, there really isn't much in the way of incentive for staying with AVEK. There's no cost increases per se, other than the cost of living. You're kind of stuck unless you get a promotion or do something else. For those cases, it provides a 10% incentive once you cross 15, 20, 25 years, helping them to incentivize them to stay with the agency and have some recognition for their time and service to the agency. And also, as I mentioned previously, 2% for advanced licensing under the distribution treatment license. And as I indicated, if the operations and treatment employees were to take full advantage of all the incentives, they'd be pretty close to market at the present time. So with the equity adjustment in the markets. So our recommendation is to approve the board orders to implement the proposed organization plan for the agency, and it will revise the job descriptions to more accurately describe the job duties and responsibilities and bring those back to the time for approval once the agency and the board has determined that this is a organization for the board.
I have a question. Can we approve all these board orders at one time? And this is opposition for the board? We can? You can? I'll second.
Move approval of board orders 61, 2, 3, and 4.
Except we'll have to have a roll call for 3 and 4, so we'll just do the roll call.
What do you say?
The first 3 responded roll call.
Oh, I saw.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Shelley Sourcewell.
Yes.
Keith Tice.
Yes.
Frank Demoto.
Yes.
George Lane.
Yes.
Robert Harris.
Yes.
Marlon Barnes.
Yes.
Neil Westbrook.
Yes.
Building next door, as you can see, we've got a whole bunch of fencing out there that not only keeps people out, but also keeps the construction contained. Hopefully, won't have a lot of debris and other things floating outside those fences. They'll start demo work out there tomorrow. Start cutting pavement, pulling curb out. Had about 20 people in our meeting today, number of subs. Other contractors will be working on the project, so it's garnering the kind of attention and effort I think that I've been looking to get on this project in the last 2 months. So it's good news. So yeah, they're going to start with doing some relocation of utilities, and then foundation, other work like that will go on. You won't really see a whole lot of change probably for at least 3 or 4 months.
Where are they going to put their jumps, their supplies, storage, equipment?
Back behind the trailer, the clear one.
So they're going to have to come through the treatment plant?
They have to use a road there. Yeah,
Okay.
they have to use a road. Yes.
Yes, Danny wanted me to ask why we blocked the other 2 charging stations. He wasn't getting charged.
Yeah, good charge.
That's a semi-serious question.
Oh, well, the contractor, it's up to them to come up with the method and means of doing these things. So when they decide to block an area off, that's their call.
Could we ask them if they could look at that?
Well, they're going to be probably demoing all that material in there, including some pavement.
So the charging stations will
This charging station is going to be moved
relocate?
as part of the project. So,
Okay.
so in all likelihood, maybe they could have staged it a little different to allow us access for a bit longer, but you start to run into, you don't want to direct the contractor on how they're going to do that kind of thing. They have to figure that out.
So the charging stations are going to be relocated to another?
They'll be moved a little bit because there's going to be a sidewalk in that area.
Is that all 4 of them?
My recollection is just the one's going to be affected. I'd have to go back and look at the plans, but there'll be a new entrance, an entrance for the building off of that parking lot, and it'll also incorporate a new sidewalk across that front area.
We'll have to get here earlier, Jim.
Yeah, first come, first served.
I guess so.
I'll give you my spot. Because mine's already charged.
Yeah, I'm not green anymore. It's still hills, though.
That's my report, unless there's questions.
Any questions?
Good job getting them going.
Yeah. Thank you. More persons, thanks. Cool. All right, here's the general manager report for July 26th. Water supply, we're still at 60%. Lake Oroville was reduced down to 93% of average. San Luis is down to 19% of average. That's in the charts, so that'll help explain that. Northern California precipitation is staying steady, so this is definitely a wet year in the north part of the state, although we have dry conditions in July. Here's the typical reservoir levels, as you can see. Oroville's coming down. Part of the reason for that is that they're holding back water in Lake Shasta for cold water releases for in the fall for fish, and so they're taking more water out of Oroville and less out of Shasta. The plan is to, in the fall, to take more out of Shasta and less out of Oroville. So, but as you can see, San Luis is very, very low.
It's ridiculous.
So here's your current precipitation at 57.8. This is our aid station index that we use that is the Feather River area, as you can see there. Remember that the 50 inches is our average, so a little above average. Here's your Lake Oroville storage, and you can see that.
You can go back a slide.
Sure.
We have plenty of water dumped in the ocean.
Thank you.
When did you say the average is?
It is 50. That powder blue area is the average based on time. So
What is that current daily precipitation? What is it, 57?
57. That's the total of all the precipitation this year.
Inches of rain.
Inches of rain that they've gotten in these 8 stations that they survey. So
And Oroville is dry.
so they have.
How many San Luis?
Basically, they have rain gauges that show in those 8 stations and how much rain it is. They measure them every day, so that's where the daily average comes in.
A lot of water is being pumped south.
There's a lot more water being pumped south. The pumps are going as how fast they go right. And here's the Lake Oroville storage. You can see during April, May, we got pretty close to the fill line there, and then we're beginning to drop. So that's storage. Here's the San Luis storage. You can see they're pretty dry. So they're pumping right now at the highest level that they can pump. This is our window to be able to try and get some water in there. It's also the peak use time, during the summer for all the contractors. So we'll see how this progresses as we move forward. So we'll definitely be down very low.
Water being jumping, not getting the water there.
No, we're fine. Where we're at, yeah. All the water's gone. There's no storage or shortage issues that we've been talking about. Yeah, and this is a chart that the state water contractors prepare, and I thought it would be interesting. I know Director Donato would find it very interesting that the green bars are what they project are being lost because of biops.
What are biops?
Biological opinions that govern how we operate the fish water, how they operate the pumps. And the blue is our actual export, so you can see what we've exported. And this gets us through July 15th. So you can see the loss that was occurred there, 990,000. So if you look at the cost accounting, their best estimate is 65 in 2014, 250,000 in 2015, 995,000 2016. So that's the impact biological opinions have on our water supply. Actually, it's being prepared on a somewhat monthly basis by the water contractors, their staff. And this is another one. This graph is trying to depict what would happen if the twin tunnels, the California fix was implemented, and it shows the additional water that would be available. What this does highlight is that the real benefit is during the wet period, and you can see that in those, January, February periods, that's when we made some progress in this year being a wet year. In the years when there's a dry year, you're going to have a lot less impact on the twin tunnels moving forward. But this is a hypothetical. It's a model run to try and determine what the value of the twin tunnels might be in each water supply.
What's the gray?
The gray.
Fixed reduction.
Yes, in other words, the California Water Fix has its would reduce in those two locations there would actually reduce exports.
In those
two
periods?
In those time periods.
What would be the reason for that?
I'd have to.
Some biologists just showed up and said,
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe there was water that had to be used for some other
they
purpose.
found 3 negative that. They haven't discovered that.
But it's trying to show that there are positives and negatives, and each water year is going to be different. But they are doing this to help illustrate what the potential benefits could be.
So this is for water year 2016.
Correct.
So are they saying we would
So
not 500?
in other words,
How much additional water would we have gotten?
it doesn't have a real good total there, but essentially the area that's in green, or kind of that light green color, this is the area.
It's not 500,000. So the yellow shows.
Oh, there you are. See, there's a cumulative
500,000.
500,000 acres.
What additional water would come south of this second?
Correct.
Are they doing this chart going backwards through the drought years?
Yes.
So we'll be able to see.
We'll be able to see those things as they develop. Yeah, right. And
Is this the first one?
this is the first one that I've been aware of. Yes. And they're continuing to refine this, and it's just been they've been confident enough in it to let it go public. This provides a different way of looking at it. The difference between the California Water Fix and not, and so you can see the numbers are a little bit different there, but you can see that what happens. And the important thing to note here, for anybody who thinks that we're taking all the water south, that's the actual flow that goes to the oceans. So you can see how much water that, this distance in here is the amount of water that's actually going to the oceans. Certainly not sucking the Delta Drive water by any reason. Okay, back to some more realistic numbers here that we're fairly confident of. Our West Bank, about 1.5 million gallons a day, 5.5 in Roseman, east side 2.5, and doing 2.5 in our Palmdale Water District connection.
Right, that it has gone down so much in the west side and Roseman from last year.
We're using some more of our groundwater supplies, and the west side, I'll defer to.
Yeah, the west side, what we're doing, Shelley, is that instead of running our wells this summer, we're taking more water through the Quartz Hill plant. The county is. So the Quartz Hill flow is about 45 MGD, where last year this time it was 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Palmdale County is just not pumping right now?
They're not, the county is taking more water from us this year than they have in the past.
The wells are not doing good, they're high nitrates.
Yeah, so the wells are, yeah, they're not pumping the wells as much.
Is that, I don't know if you call it a basin, but you get a wet year, it refills fast, and a dry year, it extracted fast.
Right.
I guess you don't have a basin there, speaking of.
Right. It's really, it's associated with quite a bit. It has to do with their water quality and meeting their water quality objectives. And they've hit their wells pretty hard the last couple of years with the water shortages. And just like us, they're hoping to recover a little bit with some of their water wells and purchasing more water from us, which is good for us.
Interesting.
It's a shallow aquifer, so they hold that pretty.
You get a wet year, it fill up fast.
It fills up fast.
So is that the plan that would towards
I think they were hoping for more rain, you know, but it's hard to do.
We'll see that. Anthony's Ranch, and then it goes down to Santa Cruz Valley.
It'll eventually go to the ocean.
Well, eventually, yeah, but
So they don't have a bowl like we have here. They have bowls out here. Theirs is like this, theirs just goes like that. Yeah. No, but it's, you see where San Canyon is, that river right there? That's what that is, an underground river. Just keep on going.
It's the West Side wells, mentioned they're much lower, going to LA County Waterworks District. And East Side banking and flooding, we're going to begin our recharge again back in September. Our wells are pumping right back to the aqueduct to test that system. We're putting up to about 13 acre feet a day of supply back into the aqueduct. Just to, you know, make sure that system is all working.
Back to back.
Yes. East side.
So it's going to be a good quality.
Yeah.
how many people in there?
We got what, four? Yeah. And we did receive our health permit for the wells out at 8th and H.
Oh,
That
great.
permit, so we finally got that going, so we'll begin our pumping operation.
Which we need to do because of our water issues especially.
That's right.
Okay.
Water quality. Let's talk about water quality. We're in stable and good. Our THMs are, you know, mobile or goal. Kern County, or Los Angeles County average is 43, and Kern County average is 16.4. So we get the majority of our groundwater supplies. We have this graph here that kind of shows you some of the various testing points and how they perform over time. The green line on the top is the AVEK goal. The 80 MCL is the goal for the health services. So you can see that we're certainly meeting our objectives here with regards to water quality. Status and updates, as we mentioned, the Water Master Board meeting on August 17th, 2 p.m. at the Lancaster. And I will be on vacation July 29th through August 8th, attending the Rio Nevada.
Valley was 3 or 4 weeks. We were feeding Senator Kern on it. Take care. Yeah. Funerals for service, actually it's going to be memorial service will be July 29th at 1 p.m. at Grace Chapel. Reception will be Mark?
Item 2, the property owner here also owns the bonds. So those 3 property owners essentially own the bonds.
or have possession of the bonds. And so we assess them, and then we agree to not collect those assessments because they are the beneficiary, because it's bondholders and the landowner. So they're the payer and the receiver of the.
Is that the case in all of them with the releasing from?
Just those parcels, 7A, 7B, and 1. It's the only place. The rest of the assessment district would remain as it is now.
Yeah, should that be the case in all of them are releasing?
Yes, that would be the case for all of those that we are releasing. So Jim Anderson is here. He could provide a little more detail on the actual documents, and while we're bringing up the original assessment. Here's the original map. We found this that shows. Let's see. Here's the existing AVEK system, and this is Waterworks 40 here in red, and then the pipeline that was contemplated was to come all the way out to here. Here's 7A and 7B, way the heck out here. And then they included this little tank here in this area. So you can see these pipelines were anticipated. The next map will show you what actually was built.
So let's stop right here for the new director. So basically what happened was we had a group of developers come in the agency and asked us to be the administrator of the bonds. In exchange that they would basically double size, we double size or triple the size of the treatment plant capability, and they sold the bonds in phases, and it had to be a 3-to-1. I'm still trying to recall this from back in 1990. The 3-to-1 ratio you had to have the bonds to qualify to make that move. And so the first two came in, the third one did not meet that ratio, came in a 2-to-1 ratio, and that's why they couldn't continue on with the financing. And it helped AVEK, which is in our boundaries, to get water supply to these areas. Everybody was for it, except some of the local landowners. And it was a sad thing, and something that one of the reasons we won't do it again is that the property owners who had the properties, a lot of them, they went ahead and sold their properties to the developers, and they did not reserve on the deeds when they sold the property that no metal roofs could be put on these properties. So when the builders had possession of the properties, these investors, they were able to cloud the property indebtedness to these properties. And when the market changed, they could not foreclose the property owner who was carrying back the notes because the value of the property had decreased 80%. So they ended up losing their property, a lot of the property owners. We had no control. That was not part of anything we do. But we learned a lot of things. So a lot of people want to know why AVEK is not into the. A lot of people have come over the years, asked us to be the administrator of bonds, and that's the reason why. Because it's all a big song and dance. They pad the crap out of them. The administrator fee was going to be 25%, and the committee at that time, we got it down to like 8%. They were, basically like that. So it was a big project. All that stuff you see on the north side. There was a sizzle there. All that stuff was part of the metal roofs in that district. So it's pretty interesting stuff. So I just want to bring them up to par where we're at with this now. So every 6 months, I think it was in our agency law, we had to go out to auction, and nobody showed up at the auction to buy the bonds because they were like over encumbered the land. So we just sat there for years. No payments were being made to anybody. And then there was a big group came in, the Tower Group, and they ended up buying the project. So take it from there.
So when you look at this, this yellow line corresponds to the actual facilities that were constructed. So you can see that once you get past Crown Valley Road, you go up to this area. And this is 7A, and that area in here, and it's actually here. So you can see that there really are no facilities out on that western portion. As Chairman Donato mentioned. So, in essence, the three documents that we have before you will allow those property owners that, once again, are synced up with also the bond holders to tender their bonds, and then they'll be removed from the assessment district, and we won't have to go through this process that we've gone through year after year for the last 10 or 15 years of deferring the assessment, and we'll clear it up and clear the title.
So, for Mr. Anderson, I have a question for you, because these bonds were tied to an infrastructure to be, and that's also, that was interesting too, that the land didn't even come out 1-to-1, but by putting the infrastructure on the land, that's where we got the 3-to-1 ratio to make the bond sales happen. But I got a question for you. So part of the Belarus, they have capacity in the treatment plant going back because they've been paying taxes all these years. Maybe you could address some of that.
This community facilities district financed what it did finance. As you're pointing out, there's been any authorization in the community facilities district. I don't think anybody expects that this community facilities district would ever issue any more debt. Essentially, it's a project that didn't accomplish what it wanted to, as a number of others did in the 90s and stuff down in the 90s. So they would come back to you when they're ready to do something, and work with you to see what needed to be done and arrange for a way to get that paid, and you would have to find a new financing mechanism for it. Wouldn't try to add into this one for whatever was being done.
But the property owners do have rights
in the
to the capacity of the pipelines, going all the way back to the treatment plant, even with the bonds being paid off on the
Yes, that doesn't change.
Okay,
so
none of
that would change.
Okay.
I don't actually have any of the agreements relating to what rights they
I
might
just
have.
wanted to, okay.
Yeah, but none of that would change. So you would just treat them the same going forward. And as was mentioned, there was a problem in the 90s. Things didn't get paid. There was a new tower came in, bought bonds. There was some financings done. Since 2000, you've been annually, it looks like, doing an agreement for these three zones and owners of that property to defer the special tax in exchange for them tendering some bonds this year that matched the tax that was coming in. And I think this year, when it came time to kind of renew that, the attorney that was working for you talked to the attorney working for those three owners of those three zones, said this has been going on 15 years. It's time to stop it. It's only 5 to 6 years old. So let's just do an agreement that has the balance of your bonds tendered, a lien released in your property, and then you won't have to deal with this. You'll still have the zones that are, some are built out with homes, there are a couple that are still undeveloped, and the tower owns, the tower entity owns those bonds, and they get what payments are made by the levies on those bonds.
So, I guess I'll make a motion on the first item on Board Order 6A1. I'm sorry, 6A2.
I'll second.
Do a roll call vote.
Any more discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Shelley Surcivil?
Yes.
Keith Gaius?
Yes.
Frank Donato?
Yes.
George Lane?
Yes.
Robert Harris?
Yes.
Marlon Barnes?
Yes.
Lee Weisberg?
Yes. Carried.
On the roll call was a Marlboro track was the first one. Where we're in this half of this thing's the thing.
There's another Quartzville Water District.
They required retired one too? Most of them are 60 years now. The new ones. Yeah.
Anything else?
Nothing more. That concludes the financial report. Talked about the Avenue N improvement project and the complete notice of completion. We want to talk about it?
Mike Flood, our Assistant General Manager in the agency engineer, would like to provide a presentation on both items, C1 and C2.
Thank you, Director. Yeah, basically both of these items involve an important step in closing a project out, which is getting a notice of completion filed with a contractor or a vendor to the contractor. What this does is it puts them on notice. They have 40 days to issue what is known as a stop notice and put in a claim for amounts that they haven't been paid, or if there's a disagreement, something like that with the contractor. So all this really does is starts the clock for that 40 days, so it's important to get that behind us, and then we can work through the financial implications of closing the contract out, releasing retention, and now it'll all be separate actions by the board later on. So both of these projects, we feel they're ready to be deemed complete and file those notices. They are ready to be filed. They've been given to Holly, so we'd ask that the board go ahead and approve that.
I got a note here about 670,000.
Yeah, we've got on the East Side project roughly $670,000 worth of payments, which includes retention. More than adequate to take care of some of the issues we're seeing out there right now. And on the other project, we're right around the $20,000 to $25,000 range. It's a much smaller project, of course. And you know, we're not seeing really any issues with the project in the street here. We're waiting for Edison power and the lights, but otherwise it's come out really well. So. Certainly.
What about the barriers that are still up over here?
Yeah, that's something the water project's been working on. What we have to do is get a design for a guardrail. Something the city has looked at the finished product and said, you know what, we really need a guardrail there to make this street safe. So we're going to get some quotes, and we'll bring that back to the committee.
To guard against what? Guardrails for what purpose?
Keep vehicles from going in that culvert that's right there.
So this is something in addition to what we've already contracted with it.
Right. Well, actually, this contractor will not be doing that. They don't do that kind of work, so.
It's a separate item.
It'll be a separate item for separate consideration.
That came up after the city now and expected.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'll put a 6-foot wall.
No, they're actually the 4-foot wall down, and that's what they're concerned about. We don't want people to swing.
Okay, I'm going to board order 6C1.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed?
George, Marlon, and myself, we got a presentation by Dan Flory on the site's reservoir. And we believe Dan and Dwayne are going to present much of the presentation to you tonight. At the conclusion of the presentation, it was our recommendation that we recommend to the board that we show interest in 2,000 acre feet of water at the site's reservoir with a cost of $6,000, $60 per acre foot for a total expenditure of $120,000, which is the most we would spend because there's some flexibility in that. Dwayne, Dan, on this one?
Sure. Dan Corey's on the phone, so I'll provide the presentation that he provided to the committee. And then if you have any questions, Dan is there to also answer the questions that you may have. This is a picture of the proposed site's reservoir. It's in Northern California, and it's north, right in the Willows, Winter, kind of area in there. It's off of I-5 to the west, I believe. And the important thing with regards to this particular site is it can be served by existing canals, so there is no anyway, the Glen-Calusa irrigation channel over here in Tehama, Calusa Canal over here. Those would be the canals that would supply the water. This is a project that's been in the works for a long, long time. It was part of the old CalFed project and has been looked upon as a potential for having an off-site storage for water. And as Dan pointed out to the board previously, this project is really a kind of a dry weather project as opposed to the tunnel project for the water fix, which is primarily a wet water addition. So the two of them kind of work a little bit hand in hand. As I indicated, it's north of the Delta storage with water coming from the Sacramento River. It's going to the project is going to have about 1.1 to 1.4 million acre feet of storage, and it's very high on the Prop 1 funding list. It's very likely to get half their funding coming from that. They formed a JPA, primarily Northern California agencies, to facilitate the construction and operation of the project. They anticipate between 120 to 130,000 acre feet of new water, and so this is additional water that may be available, and that would be what they call water that could be used by south of Delta contractors, and they're asking for participation if you have an interest in participation. Because of their Prop 1 funding requirements and their application process, they're asking for proposals to be submitted by July 29th. Right now they're anticipating study costs of $60 an acre foot. That's the maximum cost. If they get a lot of people that contribute to that, because they have a fixed study cost, the more acre feet they have participation will reduce it down, but they point that out as a maximum number. There is no long-term commitment here. You can drop out at any time. There's a lot yet to be learned and understood with regards to the site project and the site's reservoir before we could, make a recommendation whether to go or not go and that kind of thing. It is a little bit intriguing in that it has a price tag today of $600 to $700 an acre foot, and so it's comparable to the water that we get from that we just contracted for the Nickel Water, so it has that aspect. And the recommendation was to complete what they call an onboarding application. It's a 2-page application with a maximum cost not to exceed $120,000. And then the committee talked considerably about allowing our AVEK customers to inform them about this to see if they might be willing to pick up the future costs associated with this, because they would be beneficiaries to that. So that's something that we should, if the board agrees, we should be contacting our future customers to see if they have interest in pursuing this. And if there is interest in doing that, we'll proceed with that. I believe Director Weisenberger mentioned that at the last presentation. So that would be our recommendation. And we do have a board order that would authorize us to complete the application and follow the pay for the sale. That concludes my staff report. Either Dan or I would be happy to answer any questions.
I will make one comment. I'll support the exploring it, but I can tell you right now, nobody in this valley is going to buy that water. It's going to end up being $2,000 an acre foot. When they get done with this thing, I've already put a lot of things about it. This does not help Southern California at all. This is because it's north of the Delta. The Brown decides, or whoever the governor is, that wants to prevent the water when we need it in June, July, and August. If they put in there that we can get this water in July and August, then it's worth it. But if it's only when the pumps can't be turned on, it's not going to be worth anything to
Agreed, and we'll have to see exactly what the
Right,
outcome.
but I'll do this, I'll support the study, that's number one. Number two, if the twin tunnels is mentioned because of this, then I know definitely what this is all about. This is to give a lot more water to Northern California, and that's so. Now, they built this thing, if it was being built south of the Delta, I'd say we jump all over this thing. Right, you know, but when you have a governor who lets go 1.8 million acre feet of water in the ocean and doesn't fill up San Luis and says there's a drought, there's something wrong here. And go, so we're gonna have to deal with this, but I'm just saying, I'd rather take our good money, if it ends up being 2,000 acre or whatever, you know, so be it. If our water purveyors wanna spend that kind of money, which they're not, when we can sell water to them at $500, $600, $700 an acre foot wholesale, why would they pay $2,000 an acre foot for this water here? So, you know, and we shouldn't be buying it because we should take in all our money and find out some of this algae problem, and we should be turning those pumps on right now 24/7 and start flooding these fields and start putting in 50,000 acre feet of water. Our goal in this agency should, when it's available, is to put 50,000 acre feet of water in this ground, because that means in 10 years, we're gonna have 500,000 acre feet of water, and that will take care of anybody's needs here in the Antelope Valley. So that's, I think, just remember when we start spending this money. But for 120,000, I think it's worth exploring, but that is not even gonna do anything. So.
Why is it worth exploring?
Well, because I think that there's not enough right now to make a decision of whether to go with it or not. If, for example, it is, as Director Donato indicates, it's probably not going to be very attractive to the agency or any of our customers. If it turns out to be, under $1,000 a foot at the end of the game, then I could see some of our customers, like the Home Ranch or others who have a long-term view, looking at that as being a potential positive that they would be willing to invest that kind of level because of their development potential that they have in some of their projects, located within our district. So, our agency boundaries. So I just think it provides an opportunity for our customers to take a look at this, to follow along, and then to make a decision as to whether they would like to participate or not. It really allows them to look at their service area, because they're always looking at, can I get new water supplies, what are my best alternatives? And this is just an alternative for them to analyze and review, and if they decide to move forward, great. If they don't, that's fine too.
Was there something that says that if we do not participate, pay the $120,000 now, that we can't pay a part of it later after the study is completed?
They are asking for all those that are going to participate to do it now. If you don't do it now, then you're not going to be in that first class of water, and you will only be subject to second class water.
It's all the same water though, right?
It's all the same water, but it's a priority, and it's about reliability and having, when you're talking about new water, you want to have reliable water, you want to have what's left over at the end, because then that really isn't any different than other types of unreliable sources. So when you're talking about providing reliable new water for serving a service area that you can count on, you need to have that class of water.
Well, I just asked because of the likelihood of us using it is very slim, to spend $120,000. Why spend $120,000 for reliability that's not, has a really good chance of not being very nice for us?
Well, that's why from my point of view, I think it's worth the investment. There's a possibility if we back out, we might be able to get our money back on it. I can't guarantee that. But the site's general manager was very just wanted to make sure that anybody who had a potential interest would put their name in the hat, because they're trying to develop an application to the California Water Commission that shows broad support for the project. And but AVEK's point of view, I think of it as an opportunity for our customers, and I think it's a relatively modest investment to look into that potentially with water
So
source.
let me ask you a question. I think you should send a letter out to our customers and tell them it's gonna be $60 an acre foot to do the study. And send how we're gonna write a check to us. I would just be, because that would be the first thing to see if they're even interested. Okay? And if we get $2,000 total from all the 25 agencies, sounds to me that nobody's interested.
Right.
And that's not one. Number two is we've got to, we need to start focusing on our master plan and not deviate. Okay, we are deviating again. Again, if you can give me an unconditional guarantee we can get that water, and it's treated the same way we're getting table A water, that is not the way we should be going. We know what is guaranteed, and that's putting water south of the Tehachapi's. We can do a lot more with that water on a day in, day out basis and have water available. Because basically, our goal is to have water 24/7 available, no matter if there's a 7-year drought or 7 years of wet years, for our purveyors and constituents here in the Antelope Valley.